Welcome everyone to today's topic on reimagining SEO and how AI is changing search. We were chatting before this, and I was chatting with my CEO this morning that it feels like maybe we all have a little bit of AI fatigue. This is a topic that just will not go away, but for good reason. And I really hope that today your takeaways will be very tactical and that you'll be able to apply them to the work that you're already doing instead of feeling like, oh, it's another tool, it's another thing I have to do. It'll just hopefully be very validating, but also give you some ideas about how you can make your brand show up better in search in this new age of AI search. So I'm going to share some insights about how the search landscape has changed and what that means for your strategy. And we're going to also cover practical strategies that'll help you adapt. So a little bit of theory and a lot of tactics. All right, so kicking it off here. Marketers love to declare things dead. Email marketing has been dead. SEO has been dead. Blogging has been dead. Most recently, people are saying that the website as we know it might be dead, but I'm here to tell you that websites are not dead and SEO is not dead. It's just playing by a couple of new rules. So search behavior is changing and our approach to SEO has to change with it, but it's not going to be as daunting as you may think. Just some facts to back up my statement. SEO is not dead. There are still 8.5 billion searches every single day on Google. Americans are searching Google 126 times per month on average. That felt really low to me, and that's because that's only desktop numbers. So that doesn't even count all of the mobile numbers. I'm pretty sure I do that every single day on average. And 77% of patients are still doing an online search before making an appointment. So SEO is still valuable, it's still important, but we're going to talk about it in terms of GEO, which is generative engine optimization, because the search engine is changing. But instead of a funeral, I would say your SEO strategy just needs a renovation. Healthcare websites need to highlight what makes your care special. They need to be local and personalized to your community with stories and expertise that only you can share and AI cannot mimic. So we're going to talk today about how you can do that. First, just a little background info on how search has changed. Marketing channels evolve. Remember when you were getting a ton of traffic from Facebook and then they figured out how to monetize it? This is just another evolution. Search is no different. But outside shifts in the digital world are also changing the how and the where of search, and then also the things that people are searching for. It's changing consumer behavior. So we'll take a look at that today. First is the new SERP appearance. The search engine results page is looking very different. I'm sure you have noticed. The SERP layouts are cluttered with AI generated results. And then with search features like AI overviews, knowledge graphs, local packs, featured snippets, video panels, and ads, those organic results are getting pushed further and further down the page. At some point, I don't even know how they're going to fit them on page one. And we'll talk about Google's AI mode in just a second, where there are really no search results in the normal sense of how we've come to know them. So that this doesn't even take into account the AI mode, but Google isn't the only culprit. It's a similar story on other search engines. What AI is trying to do and what these companies are trying to do using AI is match the search intent instead of giving people answers that they can click on and links that they can click through and read. Google is trying to say, what is the person trying to ask? Let's go out and pull together all of these answers and we'll just rewrite it and give them the answer right here on the page so they don't have to even click through to all of these sources, which was all of the traffic that we looked for on our pages, right? The second thing that has changed besides the SERP is that people are searching all over the place. Search really isn't a channel, it's a behavior. And that behavior is now happening everywhere. People are asking questions and discovering information through social media, voice assistants, AI tools, community platforms like Reddit. And the modern search journey is not linear. It's happening in multiple touch points. It's really hard to follow the customer journey now because it's scattered. People are typing their symptoms into Reddit and TikTok. I have a 15-year-old daughter, and I can't tell you how many times she says she's going to Google something, and what she does is she opens TikTok. I'm like, that's not Google, but it's like a verb just for searching now. People are asking Alexa for healthcare tips. They're getting answers directly from ChatGPT and other AI sources and relying on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. There's no end to this. So we can't afford as marketers to just publish once and forget about it and expect Google to find our article or our page because it's keyword optimized. We have to really intentionally distribute across all of the places that our audiences are searching and asking and exploring. So that means creating content for lots of formats and platforms, and I'll go into that a little bit later. The third thing that's changed is consumer behavior. So this is a chicken or the egg. Google has shifted, and so people have adapted the way that they search to find things easier, and people are changing the way that they are searching, and so Google is adapting to that. One of the big trends, and this was happening even before AI search hit the mark or hit the forefront, was people are using longer tail queries. They're not focusing in on those keywords anymore. It used to be, oh, I know how to game Google. I'm going to look for best hospital for heart surgery. And now folks are asking these longer questions, like which hospital has the best success rate for heart surgeries? And part of that is coming from our training of using voice search, right? We're used to asking Alexa or Siri. I said that quiet, so my phone, oh, it turned on anyway. We are wanting to ask, we're being trained to ask more conversational questions. And so people are typing those into search engines and into AI chatbots too. And then the chatbot replies. So everything's much more conversational, and what people are searching for has definitely changed. And then because of all of those things, and last but not least, we really used to count on our top of funnel content to drive traffic, those blog posts, those FAQs, educational guides. But now those are being answered directly on those AI search tools, social platforms, and Google's featured snippets, videos. So people aren't clicking through on the link to get the information, and website traffic for low intent searches is not a metric that matters as much anymore. The content still matters. I'm not telling you to stop publishing blogs. I'll go into more detail on why that matters in a minute, but the click is gone. And so traffic is really a harder metric to use to see your success. So what is a marketer to do with all of this? It feels very scary. I'm going to tell you, don't throw away your search playbook. Instead, we're just going to grab a red pen and prepare to write in the margins, because things have shifted a little bit. But a lot of the things that you've been doing to engage patients and physicians and healthcare consumers in all the right places, it's been working, it'll continue to work, and we're just going to double down on a couple of things. I'm going to offer 5 different strategies today. We have 8 of them in an ebook, which it is in the resource center at the bottom of your screen. So you can download that after this and have all of the info there. So the 5 strategies that we're going to focus on: first, optimizing content for AI platforms, moving down the funnel, accommodating modern search behaviors, aligning search with social, and then building trust and authority. So again, you're probably looking at these and I'm doing a lot of these things. Yes, you are. And if you're seeing traffic declines, that doesn't mean that you're not being successful. We're just going to focus on how you can even double down on these to get better results for your marketing efforts. The first thing is to focus on middle of funnel and bottom of funnel content. So we are going to optimize content for AI platforms by focusing on that middle and bottom of funnel content. This is your high intent content. People can learn the why and the how from any source. They're getting their questions answered in those top of funnel queries right on the SERP, right in ChatGPT. So these are the things where they're going to AI or voice search for an answer, or watching a video, or getting that blog summary right on Google. But the things that people are still clicking through on and wanting to read are those like middle and bottom funnel queries. So about treatment options, or when they're actually looking for care, if they're looking for a doctor or a facility. So the assets that I would put most of my focus and energy on would be those lower funnel assets, like your FAQ pages, comparison guides, location landing pages, and then being very thoughtful about your customer journey once they get to your website. How can we help guide them to making a decision? because it no longer matters anymore. It's not as important anymore to get a ton of traffic to your website. And it never really was, but it was such a nice metric to see go up, right? But what has always mattered is, are they the right people who are going to come to you for care, who are going to schedule an appointment, who are going to refer you to one of their patients? So it's really about getting high intent and focusing on the traffic that matters. So here's how you're going to do that. First, optimizing for patient and physician search by focusing on your physician bios. Then you're going to want to prioritize those high intent keywords, like I mentioned, like best cancer care center for thyroid cancer near me. That's a really long phrase, but it's more intentional than what are the first signs of thyroid cancer. You're going to develop what to expect content and decision-making guides and video tutorials, those deeper funnel assets that are going to get people to actually click through to your content and then help them make those decisions. And then finally, encourage those conversions. Just going to touch on the physician profile piece for a second here because it comes up a little bit later. But physician profiles or doctors' bios, they are an incredibly important marketing tool and decision-making tool for both patients and referring physicians. We did some research last year on physician bios that included over 500 patients, and we asked them what the most important factors were when choosing a new physician. And it wasn't where they went to school. It wasn't if they had a cute dog in the picture with them. It was their experience. And that doesn't mean credentials. That means why they became a doctor, how long they've been in this role, that kind of experience. And then, are they covered by my insurance? Super practical. And online reviews. So having those online reviews right on the physician profile is really big for helping people make a decision. We also have a study on this, and again, I will talk on it in a little bit, but making sure that your physician bios are really well optimized for search and conversion and helping people make the next step is going to be helpful. Next up is going to be refocusing your efforts on what kind of content you want to write and optimize for. I already mentioned that the top of funnel content is for low intent searches, and it might have brought in the past a lot of volume, but it probably wasn't high intent. But does that mean that you should stop creating or optimizing your top of funnel content? No, it absolutely does not, because that same content now powers AI generated responses. It's feeding the machine and it's building your authority. So just because it's not driving sessions doesn't mean that it's not critical. You're just not writing for clicks anymore. You're writing for the algorithm and the end user, meaning you want to make sure that your content is really easy for people to understand and for AI bots to understand when they're pulling together all of the information. And here's a quick example. I'll zoom in on this in a moment, but just so you can see an example of that tofu, that top of funnel content being pulled into an AI search result for brand awareness. So this is a search on Google, and I expanded the AI overview and wanted to show you these are early signs of cancer. And there's a list of fatigue, unexplained weight loss, lumps or thickening skin changes. There's this great list, which a lot of people would just stop here. They wouldn't click through to maybe vet this. They might if there's something like they're like, oh, I'm experiencing this thing, I'm going to click through on it. But what I want to point out too is the sidebar. This is Google saying, here's where we're getting this information from. And that's the American Cancer Society, Johns Hopkins, Mayo Clinic. And then if I had clicked on show all, you would see there were a lot of different sources here. Now, even though folks might not click through on any of these links and go to Mayo Clinic's page, they're going to see that name and they'll see it again and they'll see it again, and it will continue to show up in brand awareness as a top source to answer these questions that people are having. So it's very important to still produce this top of funnel content for AI and also for brand awareness. And then another metric that is often overlooked and is coming back into our consciousness as marketers is homepage traffic. So we've been so set on designing our content to get really focused traffic to certain pages. Like we want to get traffic to this breast cancer page. So we're going to focus on this keyword. And things have shifted a little bit. Even though traffic is going down overall for many websites. This is across industries. One study of 50 sites, so it was a small study to be fair, but it found that homepage traffic was actually increasing. So seeing those names over and over again in an AI overview, I might not click through on Mayo Clinic in the AI overview, but eventually when I'm ready to really dive in and do some research, I might go to Google and just type in Mayo Clinic, and now I'm on the home page and I'm navigating from there. So our homepage is more important than it ever was. Homepage visitors are converting at 2 to 3 times the rate of the average site-wide traffic. So that means that less traffic doesn't necessarily mean less conversions or fewer conversions. It just might mean higher quality traffic. So one thing you can do here is just watch your branded search traffic. Are people coming in more on branded keywords versus those like hyper specific keywords? And then optimizing for conversion. This is a great example from UW Health. This is their homepage. So again, you search UW Health Cancer Care, Carbone Cancer Center comes up, click on the homepage. Here you are. What do I want to do? In the top in the hero, there's information about appointments. So for appointment information, and then scrolling down just below the fold, there was a super easy to use widget where I could schedule an appointment or refer a patient. So as a physician, it's right here. I don't have to go to 4 physicians and then look around. It's all in one place and easily driving people to answer the questions that they have into that conversion point. Number 2 is optimizing your content for AI platforms. And this is the structural part of it. How do we optimize our content structurally so that it's getting picked up by these AI engines, these generative engines? You have probably heard all kinds of acronyms. We use GEO. Some folks say AIO, which is AI optimization. There's LLMO, large language model optimization, and that's not even half of them. All of the frameworks are a little bit different, but they all focus on the same tactics, which is to drive visibility on AI platforms. So you can call it whatever you want. The goal is the same. And besides focusing on local and unique content that will get pulled up into those answers, we also need to look at how it's structured on the back end. So our friend Martha over at Schema App, if you need to know about schema markup, or if those words make your eyes glaze over and you're like, oh my gosh, what is schema markup? She's the perfect person to reach out to. She's super active on LinkedIn and she's been to a lot of our industry conferences lately, which is great. But she says focusing on that unique content and getting the details about specific topics and using schema markup to make sure that it's understood by Google and by these AI engines is going to connect it back to your brand. So I'll go into that a little bit. How are you going to do this? So first, you're going to analyze AI responses, which sounds very daunting, but I promise you it's like a 15-minute project that you're actually going to enjoy doing. And then experimenting with different formats, optimizing your content, so making sure that it is written in that structured way, and then leveraging schema markup. So that first task of analyzing your AI responses, I can't see faces, but I'm just going to pretend and say by a show of hands, have you gone into a Chat GPT or a Copilot or a Claude and searched for the important keywords to your location? So it could be best breast cancer treatment center in this region, or even just asking it like, what do you think about, and listing the name of your location and just see what comes up. And it can create a little bit of a rabbit hole, but if you just spend 10 to 15 minutes, it's going to be very eye-opening because you're going to start to see patterns about what comes up and what kind of content those answers are creating on their websites. And it'll give you some ideas about what you want to put on your website and how you want to structure it. This is just a fun thing. I also think that it's important to catch any possible AI hallucinations. So if you are searching for something about your brand, does AI have the truth? And if it doesn't, following that lead and seeing, okay, do we need to maybe create some new content around this or update some content to make sure that it's clear, accessible, and deeply informative to people and to AI? This is just like an interesting aside and also on the topic of physician profiles. Perplexity is a fantastic AI tool that I use every day. I highly recommend it. It is much more accurate than a ChatGPT or a Claude when you're doing research. So ChatGPT has a new deep research feature, which is very accurate, but will give you about a 50-page report when you ask it any questions. Perplexity is great for just these quick questions, and then it always gives you the links to its sources. But what I found very interesting was when I was searching for a pediatric GI doctor in the Appleton area, which is where I live, all of the results, it gives you their sources. So MediFind Health Grades Children's Wisconsin, I would expect those. But these images are coming from Doximity. So this is something that we don't normally look at as a marketing team. Like, are our physicians marketing themselves on Doximity? It's like a closed environment, but it would be worth exploring, or maybe even searching for this kind of search term for your area to see where that information is coming from. And it'll just help you follow a lead to where do we need to optimize this information. Maybe it's not even just on our website. Maybe it's on these other platforms, social platforms. And then just a quick note on schema markup. So schema markup is a little snippet of code that goes on the back end of your website to tell Google and every other search engine and robot crawler out there what that page is about. There are a ton of different schema codes, these little snippets, and they can indicate that it's a location page, or it's an event, or it's a person, like your physician profiles. But there's also a lot of them within this medical entity subcategory, showing that it's like it's related to diet, or it's related to an exercise plan, or it's a vital sign. These are just going to help Google sort through that information and share it when appropriate when people are asking related questions. This is something that a lot of times marketing and IT will pair up on. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out and I can put you in touch with our friend Martha. She's really the expert on this. And then number 3 is going to be accommodating modern search behaviors. So we talked about how this is shifting. Searchers are moving from those concise queries to more natural language. And so speaking your audience's language to meet them where they are is going to help you get found and help answer their questions. These target search terms are longer. And so ranking for keywords that your audience is searching for in the places where they're looking is going to be important. A lot of these longer tail queries too, when folks aren't in AI mode, are still showing just search results instead of showing AI overviews. That's shifting really quickly. Healthcare queries, there used to be, I believe it was 60% of all healthcare queries showed an AI overview, and now it's up over 70% already. So it is shifting very quickly, but these longer ones are just going to help you find people who are at that higher intent stage. So you'll do this by incorporating long tail search phrases. So these are made up of 3 or more words, and it's usually a sentence, and it's just a good way for you to hone in on these really specific questions. I want to warn you not to get too hung up on monthly search volume. If you plug any of these into a SEMrush or a Moz or any kind of keyword tool, it's going to tell you no one's searching for that. But zero searches doesn't actual, or zero volume doesn't actually mean zero searches. That could be 10 people in your local area who are searching for that every month. And why wouldn't you want them to find you? That's high intent and localized potential business. And then also including questions and subheadings where it's natural, and then answering them below. I'll show an example of this, but you already saw it in that AI overview. So here's an example of how Google is pulling content from some top of funnel pages and listing it in the Q&A right in the overview. So you have on the left-hand side, again, that list, and then it's pointing to the sources where it's pulling that info from. So answering those questions directly in those top of funnel resources. I'll dive a little deeper in just a second, but I want to show you what it looks like on AI mode. So Google's AI mode has only been on the scene for about a month, and it's a setting at the top. So at the top where you have the tabs that are like all images, videos, shopping, now there's a tab that says AI mode. So you search, you can click on AI mode, and it'll open up more like a chat bot, like what you would experience if you were in ChatGPT. And so it will give you a semi-similar, like these results are pretty close to the ones that were on the SERP, but they're a little bit different, and you can even see the sources are a little bit different. But the big change is that at the bottom now there's a text field that's encouraging you to have a conversation with Google and dive a little bit deeper. I do think it does a slightly better job of showing those sources to try to encourage people to click through. And I want to drill down on that just a little bit. So on that right-hand side, I pulled out what those sources were, and you can just click into one of those and see how is this content structured that Google said, ooh, that's a result that this search is looking for. Let's add that to our answer. So this one from UCSF Health is a great example. The list on AI mode included many of these, and UCSF's page is asking the question, what are the main signs and symptoms of cancer? And then answering it with just simple bullet points. Farther down on the page, there's more content about all of these. So it's not just a page with a list, there is more there. But this kind of structure really helps Google say, when someone is searching for signs and symptoms of cancer, we can trust this source that has this list. And then looking a little bit closer at how zero volume does not mean zero searches. So I looked for in search volume, which is a keyword tool, the long tail keyword treatment options for type 2 breast cancer. And you can see it says there's zero searches, there's zero volume. But if you go into Google and search for that, you can see that there is a lot of information about that in Google's AI overview and even in the search engine results. And that's because people are searching for it. So even adding some localized keywords to this to try to get those high intent searchers who are in your area, this is a worthwhile endeavor. I wouldn't say that zero volume means don't target those. Number 4, integrating your social and search strategies. Social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, they are now de facto search engines. So we have to show up there, and in particular to help displace misinformation. This is a very scary statistic from January of 2025. 69.5%, so 70% of Gen Z trusts the information that they're getting on social media platforms, even if it contradicts the advice from their doctor or another medical professional. And it's just over half of millennials are the same, and about a third of Gen X knows. They're like, we don't trust anybody. So if it didn't come from a valid source, we're not buying it. This is really scary, though. We're moving in a direction where medical misinformation is rampant. And it's really our jobs to show up, first of all, so that we can get in front of folks as a brand awareness piece, like we know what we're talking about, but also to just push this misinformation aside. It used to be said not to build on rented land, and I would say that is still somewhat true, except that everything is a little bit rented right now. Your website is still your own, your email list is still your own, but the way that people find you in the first place is happening a lot more on this rented land. You can't predict the future of social media. TikTok was banned and then it wasn't. Facebook was sending traffic and then it wasn't. But despite all of that volatility, you can't ignore these platforms. Your audience is looking for information here. So if you don't provide it, your competitors will. And it's competitors and also these random TikTokers. So here's how you can really easily integrate your social and your search strategies together. Number 1, repurpose, repurpose, repurpose. So you can maintain consistency across all of your channels by repurposing your long form content onto social, but this is also a great way to reduce your workload. If you create once and then snip it up multiple times, that is really going to help your internal teams with this workflow. And thinking about repurposing from the creation stage instead of saying, oh, we have to do some social posts. Let's go look at our blog and see what we can repurpose. Adapting each piece of content for each platform is really important. What works on TikTok is not going to work on Instagram, and you probably have different audiences there as well. Sharing your patient success stories, how-tos, and other videos like explainer videos is going to really help bolster your position in social and in search. People love video. Google loves video. Short form video continues to take over, even on LinkedIn, you may have noticed. And then using your keywords strategically. So optimizing captions and metadata will help boost discoverability. Keep up with the algorithm updates. Hashtags don't seem to be as important as they once were, but they don't hurt anything. These social channels are so good at reading those keywords now that you don't have to put a hashtag in front of it necessarily. Just a brief primer on repurposing. So when we think about repurposing content, like I said, we really like to think about that from the jump. So as we're creating this blog article about a topic, how can we push together all of these different blocks or modules of content that can then be pulled out later into different social media posts or video? That video can also live in the blog post and then just be reshared as a separate entity outside of it. So thinking about how you're going to repurpose that content as you're creating it. And then also how you're going to share it across different social media channels. So here's a really great example from Wexner Medical Center. They have a blog about Narcan, and then they also broke that down into multiple social posts on the same topic, some using the same photo, some not. This one with the Narcan dummy, that's a TikTok video. So it was really engaging because it jumped into video really quickly. But you'll see that the phrasing is a little bit different. The pictures are a little bit different. The call to action is a little bit different for each of these because they're on different platforms and for different audiences. This is another one from Wexner. We really like their social media. It's great about prenatal and postpartum depression and anxiety. So again, they have this great post. It has that conversion point right at the top. Make an appointment by calling this number. And there was a TikTok video. I believe that the same video was also on Instagram, but just using slightly different post copy. So the post copy here is from Instagram, and it just tells the same story, but in a different way, and breaks it down so that you can use it multiple times. And then last but not least, this example from Henry Ford Health also talks about a great way to stretch your content out over time. So there was this blog post that went live in March of 2023, March, like peak allergy season, right? Spring allergy season. And then a social post that went out shortly after that. But the great thing about posts like this is that you can really get that longevity out of it. You maybe schedule your blog post at the beginning of the year, and then you trickle out some of your social posts and then schedule that repost and that boost for the start of allergy season when searches are at an all-time high. But now your content has already built up that authority within Google. It's not brand new content. It's been there and it's been getting clicks, and now you're just reposting it, resharing it, getting new eyes on it. Also, YouTube is often overlooked as a social media channel. It's social, it's search, it's video, it's everything. I think it's really important to think about in terms of this overall structure of bridging social and search together. I really love how Cleveland Clinic was using or is using YouTube video chapters like FAQ H2s. So if you had an FAQ page that was about diabetes, and you had your H2s with the questions that people are asking, those can just transfer over to video really nicely. So the chapters here are clickable. You can click through so that folks can find what they're looking for really quickly, but also these show up in search results because Google now sees, oh, this video is answering these questions. All right, we're about to go into our last strategy. So just going to pause for a moment. Okay, so number 5 is being the brand that they trust and how you can build this trust and authority. We are definitely living in an age of information overload. People aren't just searching, they are being inundated even when they're not looking. AI chatbots, Reddit threads, TikTok creators, half-baked health blogs, they're all competing to answer questions that you can answer. And so that's why trust matters more than ever. This is what someone might see in their day-to-day, just searching for anything related to cancer, right? Recipes, these videos that are telling people how food can fight cancer, TikTokers doing silly dances, telling good or bad news. There's just so much information. Again, this is why it's really important for you to build trust and become the brand that people are trusting by seeing your name over and over again and getting clear answers to their questions. And here's how we're going to do that. You'll probably notice when you see these slides, or you may have noticed already, that the word audit is in here a lot. And that's because so much of what needs to be done first starts with discovery to see like, where are we now? How are we showing up in these search results? And how is our traffic? How is our conversion? So here you want to audit for consistency, make sure that across all of your different platforms, your branding, your messaging, your contact details, everything is showing up consistently. People trust what they can expect, that if they know the expectations and then those expectations are delivered, that's trust. So make sure that you are showing up in a way that is trustworthy. Encouraging patients to leave feedback on review platforms and getting doctors featured in lists and publications. So reviews and PR is going to be a really big part of this. So those like third-party accreditations that says, yes, we trust these people and this institution. Publishing thought leadership. So writing authoritative and research-backed content helps your brand establish credibility. We'll go into that a little bit, but I'll pause here just to mention what's really important here is if you are featuring a physician or any other kind of clinician in an article, or they've written the article, linking back to their provider bio page or to an author page that lists their credentials is key for Google knowing, okay, they really did bring an expert in on this. It's not just someone writing this from the hospital basement. This is factual. And then when someone does land on your site, once again, they're more qualified than ever. So we want to make it super easy for them to make the next move. They should know exactly what's expected of them and what will happen if they do that thing. So click this button and here's what's going to happen. Let's start with auditing. So I did a quick search of best oncologists in the Chicago area on ChatGPT, and I just wanted to know what ChatGPT would give me. It gave me a really great list, but then I went deeper and I was like, why did you give these to me? And I thought it might be their individual reviews on their websites, but ChatGPT was like, no, that's not it. Or Google reviews. We didn't use those directly because they're not always, they're inconsistent. They can be influenced by non-clinical experiences. I'm sure you've seen this, right? Doctors getting 1-star reviews because of a parking issue or a billing issue that really had nothing to do with the doctor. But what it does use is these patient review aggregators, so WebMD, Vitals, Health Grades, so making sure that we are focusing on those. And then also editorial rankings, so showing up in Chicago Magazine's top cancer doctors, for instance, or US News and World Report. We have had this sort of ongoing debate about how much that mattered over the last couple of years, and to AI, it really matters. And then also your hospital affiliation with these NCI designated cancer centers. So ChatGPT and these AI engines are diving deep to get this information, and then they're surfacing it based off of what they think is the most accurate results. Publishing thought leadership is a secondary part of this. Here's an example from Cleveland Clinic, Florida on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is often overlooked for doctors and physician referrals, but medical professionals are the fastest growing group on LinkedIn. So it is a really important place to establish authority and show up with thought leadership. So this is a newsletter from Cleveland Clinic, Florida. When they started this, they had 0 subscribers. It was brand new, and added about 400 and then 1,000. And now they're up to over 9,000 subscribers. And what's really great about this is it's pulling information from the website, or it's rewritten information from the website. This content has already been created, right? We just have to rewrite it. You can click through, but it's also linking to the LinkedIn profiles of these physicians that are featured in the articles. So it's driving that authority. It's allowing other folks to go and click on them. And when I looked at I think there were like 25 likes on this when I looked at it, and the majority of them were other physicians. Some of them were internal, but a lot of them were external to Cleveland Clinic. And then this is just a great example of really good UX. So helping people get guided to the right place when they land on your page and they're looking for answers. So this is a screening page, cancer screening and prevention. Take a personal assessment now. These health assessments are such a great tool for getting people into your ecosystem and then continuing that conversation with them. The follow-up is really important, but this just has very clear, I take the assessment now, or I can schedule an appointment for a lung cancer screening or a mammogram right here from this page. It gets people where they need to go very quickly. Just briefly on the science of building trust and authority, there is psychology behind this. What we're trying to do is develop cognitive ease for folks. They trust what feels familiar and is easy to understand. We're also trying to show up over and over again because there's this thing called mere exposure effect, and that's that the more people see your brand and results, the more they trust it. We just tend to trust things that we see more often. And then what we're working against is risk aversion. So buyers are gravitating towards safe choices. That includes patients too, and physicians that are referring. They want a safe choice. They want to make sure that they're getting the right choice. So they're looking for brands that they've heard of, doctors that they've heard of, treatments that they've heard of. So getting out there and building this is just like a repetition game. And I do want to just remind you that the basics still apply. You want to create something that's really valuable. And this is to your audience, not to you or the request that a doctor asks, like, we need content around this. How is our reader going to use this content? And how is it going to show up in the places where people are searching? So optimizing for where people are searching, making sure that you can be found. That's all about distribution. And then making your content worthy of a click. It's one thing for people to see it and just gloss over it in the AI overview, but is there something super localized or interesting about that content where people want to click through and watch the video or read the rest of the post? I'm just going to quickly go through measuring ROI because this has shifted. We are so hyper focused as a marketing society on traffic, and that has really shifted. So first and foremost, we're going to need to start tracking what matters. And this means that impressions matter more than ever. So the number of times people are seeing your brand, that used to be a vanity metric, but now it's a benchmark to show like how familiar are people with us? Where are we showing up? Then you're going to want to check again where your brand appears. So doing that audit, searching for yourself in Perplexity or ChatGPT, digging a little bit deeper and seeing where are people seeing us, auditing those AI platforms for brand mentions. And then also tracking your different formats. So is AI picking up a video? Is it picking up a infographic? Is it this list that it really likes? Is it this in-depth article? So testing those different formats and seeing what it likes. Here's just a quick example of how I might audit for a keyword that's specific to me in my region. So best cancer treatment options available today in Midwestern US. That's a long tail keyword. I popped it into ChatGPT-4 and it gave me these results and links that I could click through on. So if I am one of these, I'm super excited. Yes, I did it. Let me click through, see what I'm sharing that is giving ChatGPT this answer, or even asking, why did you rank me number 1, 2, or 3? But if I'm not showing up here, then I might want to ask that. Why didn't you consider this organization or compare us with this organization and just dig a little bit deeper, use AI to learn AI's own game? And then a couple of other just metrics that you'll want to take a look at. I mentioned impressions. So this is from AHA Media Group. This is our website search console. And I just took a look at anything that included healthcare marketing. And you can see not very many clicks. That might have made me very sad in 2022. But today I'm tracking these impressions and I'm looking to see, are they going up or are they going down? Are people seeing our logo on our name more often? And then tracking where your traffic is coming from. AI is now a referral source. So I know not everyone has access to Google Analytics 4, but if you are using some kind of analytics tool, see if you can get this information about where your referral traffic is coming from and just check these AI sources. So we started getting referral traffic from ChatGPT and Perplexity as soon as they started showing this, and I've just benchmarked it. So take a look at where it is today and then just follow it on through. And then one more trick, which is how do I know if I'm showing up in those AI overviews? You can use SEMrush. I know a lot of hospitals already have a paid version of this, but if you don't, you can do this in the free version. So you'll go to position tracking and then you're going to look at the SERP features and just look at AI overviews. That's this little like clover. And it'll show you for which keywords you're showing up in those AI overviews. And this is probable, not for sure. So this is based off of the searcher's intent. If someone searches best bio for doctors, more than likely will show up in the AI overview, but it's not guaranteed. Again, just a benchmark to see how many am I showing up in, where can I improve? Getting started, it feels very daunting. There's so much to be done, but truly it's not that different from what you have been doing. I'll repeat again, the place to start is by auditing your performance. So where am I right now? Measuring your performance on different channels, tracking your engagement metrics, just getting that benchmark in place so that you can really dive in later and say what's getting better, what's getting worse as you're learning. And again, I mentioned that we have this tactical guide for the future of healthcare search. It's in the resources, so you don't even have to use the QR code here. And that's a great resource. It's a tome. I think it's like 17 or 18 pages. And then last but not least, a little shameless plug, which is that we can help you. We actually have developed a workshop that can help your team get aligned on AI. This is both for AI tools, but also this AI search. How do we do this? And it's a half day, 1 day, or 2 day where we can help you understand what's possible and really get those high value opportunities. What can we do now, that low hanging fruit, and define your first AI use case so you know what to start doing tomorrow. And that's what I have for you today.